Hello and welcome back. I am Julian Greystoke, author and developmental editor and owner of a new mic, which I'm still learning the ropes for, so hopefully it works. So today we're going to talk about some more writerly advice. Because as most of you know, I am in fact an author. I have some published books which you can purchase now on Amazon if you would like to see if my advice is worth its salt. But today we are here to talk about one of my favorite things when writing fiction, especially fantasy, creating religions. Yay! Because a big part of world building is thinking about what sort of things the characters within your world would believe and why. For some reason, it's always been something that I have especially enjoyed in my fantasy writing is creating religion, because I love culture building and religion is often a large part of culture. Now, as always, I do like to remind people before I begin that I am not the god of writing. I am just someone with a lot of experience who's giving you advice. Advice is not rules, advice is advice. So if any of this stuff that I talk about just does not work for you, that is a-okay. So let's go through my tips for writing religion. My first tip is probably the easiest one, and that is to look at religion in the real world to see what sort of elements you want to incorporate in your own fantasy religions. Now, here's a big caveat. What I would recommend against you doing is just doing a one-to-one. We see it a lot, and quite frankly, I am personally sick of it, where like there will be just a stand-in for Christianity that is basically exactly the same as Christianity, no effort made to make it different, and the author can always argue, well, I'm trying to make a statement about Christianity, but we've seen it done.
And to clarify, in these cases, Christianity is usually the villain, the evil empire. It's very much the same whenever I see it used.
I understand. I grew up Christian. I no longer am, but I grew up Christian and I have no hard feelings toward it, but I also understand that Christianity has hurt a lot of people, and you might want to explore that in your books, but I beg you to be a little bit more original with it. There's something to be said for incorporating aspects of real-world religions into your stories, bad aspects and good aspects. But make sure that you're not just plucking them out of reality and putting them into your story and just giving them a different name. Think about how they would fit into your world. Your world is probably very different from our world, and things like, dragons may exist in your world, or the undead, or any number of other things that don't exist in our world may exist in yours. So consider how that would affect the religions, and a lot of times it would have an effect on the religions, and just taking one completely from our world and plopping it into your world with no consideration for how the worlds differ is going to be a big problem.
Again, I just want to clarify and stress and make this very clear that when I say borrowing ideas from real-world religions, you are only using ideas as a jumping off point for your own fantasy religion. You are not just taking things from real-world religions, because that can be culturally fraught, like especially if you're not doing your research and you're just like, ooh, this piece of someone's religion looks cool, I'm gonna take it. Avoid doing that. Look at it as a jumping off point for ideas, not a place to just get your entire religion wholesale from the real world.
Jumping off of that, we get right into another aspect of creating a religion for your world, and that is thinking about the cultures of your world and what do those cultures value. That's a really good way that I find to start coming at the idea of religion, because I don't always start with the religion. A lot of times I will start with the culture, and remember that there are, especially if you're writing fantasy, bound to be multiple different cultures within your world, and what they value will be affected and have an effect on how and what they worship. So say you've got a bunch of people who are really water-based. They are fishermen, they have boats, their society is very connected to the water. Their religion is probably going to have to do with the water. Possibly they worship a god of the sea, or they worship the sea itself. They might worship storms, something like that. And they might have an interesting relationship to their god and their religion because of how they come at it through the lens of what is most important to them. And hey, look at that. The next one just leads right off. I love it when I do that. The next one is to remember that there are also probably multiple religions in your world. It is very, very tempting, especially if you're newer to writing fantasy, to just have one religion and call it good. People either believe in this or they don't, and everyone in the whole wide world believes the same. Now, certainly for like one society or one continent, maybe everybody would believe the same, one country, depending on how big these places are and how many people are in them. But the more people you get from the more different cultures in your world, the more chances that you are going to run into other religions. Something to really consider when you're writing a fantasy and religions is, are the gods actually real? Because they can be in your fantasy story. So like you've got your god of storms. Are they just sort of a thing that the people worship? Or is there an actual god of storms somewhere that can affect the world that the characters live in? Knowing how many gods there are, how they work, how they get along with each other, are there multiple religions with multiple existing gods, and how does that work out? How does worship and devotion work with these gods, or do they not care? Are they present and hands-on, or are they standoffish and really only show up when people need them? And of course, are they real, or are they just something that the people worship? All of these are really important things to know for your story. And remember how we talked about how culture shapes religion? Let's talk about the reverse, religion shapes culture. So I tend to go culture then religion, but you can go religion then culture. If you come up with a religion first, especially one that a certain people have had for a long time, that is going to change how their culture acts. What are their traditions, their holidays, their customs, their language even can be seriously affected by their religion. And let's get down into the nitty-gritty of it a little bit. So, for example, iconography. Depending on their religion and how their gods are worshipped, you would see iconography of it in their world. For example, Christianity. You see crosses and little Jesus fish everywhere. They are so much a part of our world that sometimes we don't even notice them. Think about the iconography that goes along with your religion, how prevalent it is, and how the characters feel about it. Next is methods of worship. How do the characters pray? Are there churches, or does everybody pray at home? Does everybody have their own personal altar or prayer thing that they carry around with them? Or is praying not really something that they do? Do they leave offerings? All kinds of little details to think about. How your characters worship is something that I often feel gets forgotten or put by the wayside when you are thinking about how your characters interact with their religion. Especially if you want to lean away from having your characters pray in the exact same way that many of our real-world religions pray. And finally, places of worship. Going along with that, are there huge temples where hundreds of people gather, or are there small shrines where only 20 people will fit? What do the places of worship look like? Are they really well upkept? Are they shiny and pristine, or are they humble and all of the surrounding neighbors take turns to keep it clean? And that kind of goes along with the iconography as well. Like, what sort of iconography is involved in the place of worship? And feeding right into that, you also have the people who may work for the church, essentially, like priests or rabbis. Are there any in this world? What are they like? What are the criteria that make them able to be that? Are they well respected in society or looked down on? All kinds of things to think about. So yeah, those are my tips for writing religion. Do you have any more to add? Feel free to put them in the comments below. Have you written religion in your stories? Has this sparked any ideas about how to flesh it out or make it more engaging? Does exploring religion in your stories seem interesting to you? Comment below and let me know. And if you want to read any of my fantasy books where I definitely explore some fantasy religions, because it's my favorite thing, check out my books available now.
I especially recommend, if you want to see how I handle religion as a feature happening in the background of a world and a story, I recommend Boots, where along with following the retelling of Puss in Boots, we have two religions, one that is older and has faded in popularity, and a new up-and-coming, more popular religion. And you can see how they interact, and how the characters who follow the old religion and the characters who follow the new religion interact. So if that's something you are specifically looking for in my writing, I recommend you check out Boots.
Also, if you you want to keep up with me and my publishing journey, etc., you can follow me over on Patreon. Links in the doobly-doo. Your support helps me publish my own books. And also buys yummy treats for the ferrets. They thank you as well. Plus, you get all sorts of rewards over there not seen here on the regular channel. Also, I am a developmental editor, so if you're looking to hire one of those, but you're daunted because there's just so many options out there, hi, you already know me, so check me out on Fiverr. Thanks for watching today, and I will see all of you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye!
Enter!
Why, it's my patrons. Patrons like Ruin Queen of Oblivion, SP Boots, Martha, July, Bird Anonymous, Sunnyshy, Nico, Sarah, Cat, 78 kilograms of shade, Veda, Roma, Pansing Pony, Julius the Nice Dragon, Haley, Sam, Kira, Kohikaro, Mooney, Pudmancer, Kirsten, Bear, Jojo Bookish, Robin, Ursula, Caitlin, Jessica, KJ, Lafone, Amanda, Alyssa, Rita, Deborah, Afra, Melissa, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Ashley, Sophia, Marween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Like Julie, Belle, Anne Sophie, Callison, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Sarah.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds damn saucy, you lucky thing.